Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I have a pretty card to share with you today featuring Simon Says Stamps, Exotic Blooms, and a wonderful sentiment set called Easy Strips Birthday. The Exotic Blooms die set consists of 2 different sizes of flowers. To create this square wreath, I've die cut all of the elements for each flower 5 times. All of the die cuts are laid out on a stencil mat. It doesn't exactly hold those die cuts in place, but it does a lot better job than if they were sitting directly on my work surface. Then they would be really sliding around. All of the coloring is done with positively saturated inks and small blending brushes. For these leafy stems, I first colored them with celery and then went back with a darker green ink called Perfection, focusing on the central stem and the base of the leaf. There are 2 different sizes of stamens, and those are being colored with a bright yellow called Lemonade. These layered flowers are made up of 2 petal die cuts. For the petal that will sit in the back, it is being inked with guava. I apply a bit more pressure at the base and then lighten it up as I work towards the petal's tip. There are 2 different sizes of flowers, and for ease of putting them together, I have them laid out in their petal partner pairs. And you may have noticed that one of my die cuts is missing, and that often happens to me when I'm working with so many die cuts, but I did find it. For the die cut that will sit in front, I'm starting off by applying Lemonade right along the petal's edge. And then I'll go back in with the guava, applying it quite heavily at the base and then blending it out slightly where it meets the lemonade. Before I assemble the flowers, I'm first going to add some texture to the ends of the stamens. I'll add a small dot of glue at the end of each of the filaments and then dip it into a product that is called Elements Earth Textures. This is made up of natural elements and it smells gorgeous. I used to make a lot of paper flowers, and so I have collected over the years a number of these products that add this really neat texture to make them more realistic. I gave the stamens about 10 or 15 minutes to dry before I started assembling. A dot of glue is placed on the base of the large petal layer that's going to sit in the back, and then the stamen is adhered, but before I put it on, I first make sure that all the individual stamen heads are separated and I knock off any of the excess texture. And then more adhesive is added to the base of this large petal and the smaller one is placed in front. And I'll wait until I start to form the wreath before the flowers will be attached to the stems. 2 dies from the Stitch Rectangles die set have been taped together so that I can create a frame from black foam and also this beautiful green apple cardstock. The black foam frame will be left intact. I won't remove it from the excess foam so that it makes it much easier for me to align the green cardstock frame to it. And I'll set that aside to dry completely, and I'll go ahead and work on my sentiments. I'll be using the Easy Strips birthday stamp and also the coordinating die. The sentiments will be stamped all at once and cut all at once, and I'm inking it up with VersaFine black ink. I'll be stamping the sentiments 2 times so that they are nice and solid black. And there's a lot being stamped all at once, so a pressure tool really comes in handy. Easy Strips Rectangles die is lined up, and I'll use a little bit of low-tack tape to hold it in place as it runs through the die cutter. The adhesive is now completely dry on my frame. I'll remove the excess foam, and the frame will be adhered to a black A2 size card base. The first thing that I'm going to do is just lay out all of my stems. So remember, I die cut the 2 flowers 5 times. So altogether, I'll have 10 stems, 5 large and 5 smaller ones. And now that I have them evenly spaced out around the frame, I'll go back in and adhere them, and I'm just adding adhesive to the central stem. And I'm just starting on one side and working my way around the entire frame. And as it turns out, I use 9 of the 10 stems, and I'll retain the last one to cut apart to add the leaves in at the end. And now that I'm finished this step, I'm going to go ahead and take the flower heads and just lay them in place. The flowers will be adhered to the frame using a fairly good sized dollop of adhesive. As the flowers are being adhered, I am paying attention to the angle of the flowers, and a couple of the blooms I did move to another position. I've got the flowers more or less evenly spaced out around the frame, and now I'll go back to that extra stem, cut off the leaves, and then fill in a couple of places. I'll be using 3 strips to create my sentiment. Remember that the frame has been adhered to foam, so it has some dimension. I want the sentiments to look like they're tucked in, so they're going to be adhered directly to the card base. Simon's green apple cardstock is a really nice complement to the 2 greens that were used for the stems and leaves. I'll be embellishing with a product called This Calls for Confetti, and I'll be using the light iridescent pink, and this is really gorgeous confetti. It is translucent, shimmery, with just a soft touch of pink coloring. And once I have it placed in and around the wreath, then I'll go back and adhere it. And I want just a tiny dot of adhesive. That's all I need to hold the confetti, so I don't apply very much pressure on the sides of the bottle. And I want the confetti to pop a bit, so I'm going to be finishing off each one with Nuvo Crystal Drops Morning Dew. Because this medium dries clear, you can still see the soft pink shimmer. And that completes this card featuring a couple of products from the 2 latest releases by Simon Says Stamp. The gorgeous exotic blooms can be found in the To Love collection and the fabulous sentiment set Easy Strips Birthday in the To Be Loved collection. And here's another card that can be found on my blog using the Easy Strips Birthday set along with a gorgeous layering stencil set called Tumbling Flowers. So if you're interested, hop over to bonniecarolee.com to see how this card was put together. And as always, I appreciate your visit.